Welcome to ST World Affairs. My guest today, Dr. Sanjoy Banerjee, is a professor of international relations at San Francisco State University, where he teaches courses on international relationship theory and methodology, as well as on South and Southeast Asia. Dr. Banerjee has publications in the areas of historical structure analysis, the role of national identity and narratives in foreign policy, artificial intelligence in international politics, and political economy. Professor Banerjee, thanks for coming down to our show.
Thank you.
Since your expertise are in South Asia and Southeast Asia, I would like to focus only on Pakistan right now. When you look at the Pakistan, India, and China, those are the three dominating countries when you talk about Southeast Asia, or I would say South Asia.
South Asia.
India is a rising economy, and then Pakistan and China, they have this Pakistan-China corridor. Through that, Pakistan and China, they will get some trade policies where transportations, highways, lights, cable, all these good things is going to happen to Pakistan. What are your views on this China-Pakistan corridor?
That's a very important and new kind of project, at least in the region of South Asia. And the announcement that was made in 2015 focused on roads and railways on the one hand and electrical power generation on the other hand. Now, all those things are very useful for any developing country. Since the announcement, a fair amount of investment and construction has taken place, but some subtle changes have also taken place in the financing of these actions. That originally the plan was that there would be very little debt that Pakistan would owe as a result, that Chinese companies would invest their own money and maybe get some kind of guaranteed returns in Pakistan. But that actually has not happened to a great extent. In fact, foreign direct investment coming into Pakistan, according to the government of Pakistan, has actually declined over the last year. But Pakistan has been borrowing money from China to build CPEC-related projects. And that may work, that may still work out, but the arrangement has changed. What is the other thing that has not happened that is actually quite important is Pakistani exports have not increased, neither to China itself nor to anywhere else. And currently China's exports are in the doldrums. That's true of most of the world, but if large amounts of money are going to be borrowed, exports should go with that.
So when you talk about China-Pakistan relationship, I sometimes wonder that what's there for China? You know, I mean, I do see China favoring Pakistan versus India. That's very obvious.
Yes.
India says, okay, we know there are some terrorists, they are hiding inside Pakistan. And then China say, no, that person is not a terrorist. And there are many different places China has supported openly to Pakistan. Is this the way China is balancing India's rising power?
Yes, in fact, even when India wasn't a rising power, or at least not much of a rising power, from going back to the 1960s, there's been a China-Pakistan alliance effectively against India. And that continues. The economic payoff for China is probably fairly limited, at least for the present time. Maybe 10, 15 years in the future, it may be more. But China's exports, in fact, are not doing that well. They're stagnant or even in decline. Moving large cargoes over land, even over good roads, is an expensive proposition. It's much cheaper to move things by ocean. So I think the economic reward for China is limited. It does put a certain amount of pressure, political, economic, military pressure on India, and China wants to do that. How effective that is, sort of looking at a map and thinking of a country as hemmed in, is not clear. China itself is very hemmed in, if you look at it that way. There's Japan, there's Taiwan, but China is doing fine anyway.
Yeah. I want to talk about terrorism. We found, USA found Bin Laden hiding inside Pakistan.
Yeah.
it's very well known that Pakistan harboring a terrorist.
Yes.
It is the state or state government, military. There are so many articles. It's not only, it's all over the world. I mean, you can see Washington Post or New York Times. There are many articles written down on terrorists hiding inside of Pakistan.
They're not hiding. They speak publicly to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
So my
of people.
question was that, explain to us, since you are expert in South and Southeast Asia, what kind of terrorists? I mean, educate us that what is the meaning of this terrorist? When people say they are hiding or harboring inside Pakistan, harboring, is there any state-sponsored terrorist program they have?
They have both state-sponsored and otherwise. Let me not use the ugly word terrorists. Let me call them armed religious organizations because they are that, and then the moral judgment of terrorism can be made separately. So there are two kinds of armed religious organizations, politically two different kinds. There's the pro-army organizations and the anti-army organizations. And the army has been fighting the anti-army organizations on and off, and now it's on. The pro-army organizations were actually created by the army and its intelligence agency, and they receive a certain amount of logistical support and certainly overall protection. And against those organizations, little or no action has been taken. Well, little action.
Okay. So Pakistan recently elected a new army chief, General Qamar Javed Bajwa.
Qamar, yeah.
Qamar, okay. And he is against the Pakistani Talibans, right?
Yes,
I mean, he's not a big fan of them.
Yeah, they're the anti-army terrorists.
Exactly. But what are your thoughts? How it's going to, his election or his appointment, how it's going to impact Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India? I mean, it's kind of a triangle here, right?
Right. Before Bajwa, going back to the 1950s, the army had played a dominant role in Pakistani politics. After the first coup in the late 1950s, there were civilian governments. They either didn't last long or they had very limited power. And in recent years, civilian governments have had limited power. Now, the previous army chief before Bajwa was Rahil Sharif, and he also intruded on the domain of civilian authority. But one thing which he did do is he retired after 3 years. He was actually the first army chief in a long time to retire on time. And he knew, and everybody knew, that by doing that, he would give the civilian prime minister the opportunity to choose the next army chief. General Sharif was chosen by the civilian prime minister, and then the prime minister got his second choice in a 5-year term. And he chose somebody who seems to be less interested in intruding on civilian authority. So if that holds true, then there will be a steady, slow but steady movement in favor of greater civilian authority. And that is good news, I think, for India. It's good news for Afghanistan, and it's very good news for Pakistan.
Okay. So in your views, how USA should tackle Pakistan? I mean, here is a Trump is going to be president in January 20. What do you think, in your views, the Trump administration should deal with Pakistan? On one hand, USA is giving enough amount, about billions of dollars funding to Pakistan. The results
less now, but
but the results are not as per expected. I mean, it's not like Pakistan has become completely terrorist free state,
no,
right?
in fact, for a long time, Pakistan has financed the killing of American soldiers.
Right. So in your views, how Trump administration should work with Pakistan in dealing with terrorism?
Up till now, both the Bush and Obama administrations have been good sports, that's the best way to put it, about the opposite practices. And the practices are in some ways opposite on both sides. The U.S. helps Pakistan and at least in certain periods of time, bombs Pakistan or attack it through drones and the like. And Pakistan helps the U.S. and also sends Taliban to kill, among others, American soldiers. So you had these two, this very strange relationship. Now, for the Trump administration, they're coming in. The number of American soldiers being killed in Afghanistan is down. They're less involved in battle, and therefore,
because we are pulling out our troops from Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, there's still some troops left, but they're less involved in battle, so they're not getting killed. Nonetheless, there are many Taliban offensives and actions against the Afghan government, and if the Afghan government were to fall to the Taliban, that would be seen as a historic defeat for the U.S. And so it is an open question as to how much pressure the U.S. can put on Pakistan, and pressure in what way, to force Pakistan to stop anti-Afghan terrorists, such as, or armed religious organizations, such as the Taliban and the Haqqani network, who are connected, from continuing to attack Afghanistan. The Obama administration did not want to go very far, and in fact, in the end, basically accepted that these attacks would simply occur. Trump has not made very specific statements about Pakistan-based terrorist organizations. Right. So we, in fact, don't know. Pakistan is a very large country.
And to be honestly, Trump's decisions, what he says and what he's going to do, nobody knows about it. So we just cannot just predict that. But there is no policy here. I mean, we'll hear from Twitter. I think one of these days we'll hear from Twitter his policy against Pakistan.
No doubt. I think General Flynn, who is his national security advisor, General Mattis, who is his Secretary of Defense, they have pretty good knowledge of what's actually happening. And they have both played the game under previous administrations of being good sports and trying to deal with it. And whether that's their preferred policy or not, we'll find out.
Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel where India, Pakistan will be living peacefully? I think it's a kind of question of Israel and Palestine. It's the same thing, and if you compare it. And if you see yes, then what are the few important places where you see that India and Pakistan can come together, and then
it is not likely for some decades that a large section of people in Pakistan will hold identical views to Indian nationalists. But that's not necessary. What has been the case up till now is that Pakistan has been a governmental system with a very unusual set of priorities. It has deliberately wanted to use force in a manner that is completely ineffective strategically. India is very big. Various kinds of attacks make India very angry, but they don't do anything else. It's simply impossible to move the Indian army. It's a big army. It can get bigger as it needs to. And so there's not much, in the normal sense of the word, their attacks don't succeed. Their attacks simply they succeed insofar as they just keep happening and they create a spectacle. The real payoff has been in the domestic politics of Pakistan. The army itself, by creating an atmosphere of tension with India, has forced the rest of Pakistani society to accede to itself, the army, a dominant political role.
Okay. Professor Banerjee, thanks for coming down. I wish we had more time, but definitely we'll invite you in our forthcoming episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you.